good anymore.
I'm gonna give it a buzz.
I can also do this. I like it.
You really want to.
This.
Yep, or give him like a mullet. He has a mullet now.
I used to have a
He
mullet.
used to have a
Like-
straight up mullet. Like the rest of it was buzzed, and then it was like
Do
down
that
to his
again.
shoulders in the back. You wanna do that again, Mike?
I'm gonna keep my hair. How about a little trim? Not like that much, like a little trim. I got a trim.
Yeah, but you still have long hair because it's just a little trim.
But he girls are supposed to have long hair. It's fun.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
People are weird and they made girls have long hair and guys not. What if it was the other way around?
Okay,
Guys
so my
had long
cards?
hair and girls
Yes.
had short
Okay,
hair.
so hang on.
That would make better.
I forgot you don't know what you're doing. This is the pile you have to get rid of. And this. This is all yours you have to get rid of. But this is your stack.
Okay.
These ones you can look at.
What happened to
So
that?
you can have 5 cards
Downstairs, maybe.
in your hand at one time.
So what do I do?
So if you put
Is
a
that
card
here? Here? Oh my gosh! Oh, I miss you so much!
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Girls, am I right?
That's what I'm saying. Oh, you woman. Mosey! I'm gonna play speed.
Okay, so listen, if you put down a card, you can take one out of your
What is this? How many crown wins do you have in Fortnite Battle Royale?
You have more than 5 in your hand at a time. Okay, but you wanna get rid of all of these. So the way you do it, let's flip.
Imagine I have 5.
So then
That's 5
so
total.
this one you can either put one higher or one lower,
I have
like a
13.
jack or a 9. This one you can put one higher or lower, like an 8 or a 7.
Are you
or
jack,
sorry,
sister?
8 or a 10.
Where's Jack?
Okay, so now it's a 9, so you can do 8 or a 10.
Oh. I could just stay here.
He wanted to go to the high school.
Why?
I don't know.
Oh, that worked. And you can always draw more if you put down more in your back.
What do I even doing? My shoes.
So one higher, one lower. 7 or 9.
What are
9 or
those?
jack. And once it gets all the way up to like jack, queen, king, 8
No.
stuck, then you go
Shut
to
me
check.
here.
You're stuck. Are you
I
stuck?
got it.
I'm stuck. So one for step is dropping
I'm
your
trapped. I'm trapped.
Oh.
Go. Go guys, go.
Rock.
Trap him.
Tough.
No.
Should I get a bear?
$60 for 3.
This is so disproportionate. Three what?
Pairs.
yeah,
Oh,
wait,
you can
how
always
many
have up to
cards?
5
How
in
many
your hand.
cards?
Oh, you could switch out the fins and stuff?
Four.
Huh. Cool. Shut up.
Paul's here again, but he refuses to come.
Bro,
Don't let her
tell
win.
him I'm
Got
here.
A king, a 4,
Right there.
and 6.
Ah! Bro, call him. Why can't
Let me help it.
Let me talk to him. No.
Just got 4 guys.
Tell me what I said.
Tell him to come over here right now.
Play your queen. Play your queen.
Yeah.
Play your queen.
Danny.
Queen.
Yeah.
Going up there now. I obviously.
Power please me. I want to see what I want.
I don't know if you really won. I think maybe Abby. I
think Abby Warrior won.
Yes. I've had like 10 comments about how I'm going to do that now.
Nobody's here.
Sure. Spam him.
I have wavy hair, but it's only in the back.
Dude.
My hair only holds. My hair only holds when
Someone
it's
calling
too much.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has voicemail.
What the
Oh, you get a buzz.
I want my sweater
my
back.
God.
Who is that?
My sweater for over 2 weeks. Even a month.
It's
I'm
too
like,
short.
for like, give me it. No, I like it.
Chloe.
This is literally my favorite thing with hers.
Sunshine. Womp womp.
Lolo never
Sunshine.
It's a nickel.
She never invites me to her house
I
either.
know, like,
What do you do, Scarlett?
Whatever.
no, I don't like that.
Do you? Actually,
Wait. I'm not ready.
What is the
wait,
other one want?
she's 5'5".
Here, got it. I like.
I'm gonna
I
stop.
love this
Crap,
one.
crap.
Wait, actually,
I love very much.
Is it that luscious?
It's
they're kind of funny. I mean,
I'm gonna take it as a
This person.
Trace at me.
I know you shit.
Is it like that famous one? Or is it like that head and shoulders?
He's kind of cute.
She's not inviting for me.
say that I'm good enough, though.
I'm gonna jump up.
I mean, I'm gonna say something.
I'm gonna jump up.
Eyes and ears and mouth and nose and shoulder, knees and toes.
Wait, how do you know Scarlett?
Oh,
Girl, I got that too.
yeah.
Go! She's
I mean, she's kind of cute. I mean,
Go!
This has
What
never
did
come.
Go!
Where?
Go! I can't!
Oh.
I know you! Oh my
yeah, I think so.
She's stuck.
Maybe.
Stop forgetting to say.
She's not.
Go!
The one that
Go!
I don't
Go!
know.
I'm trying!
Wait,
Go!
Where?
Go! Go!
Stop!
what's her snap? Isn't
I
it
have
Scarlett?
Help me. Girl!
this snap.
Go! Go!
That's my Fortnite. Oh.
Yes!
Let's
Let's go downstairs.
Let's
Let's go downstairs. Let's go downstairs.
Oh my god.
I'll get my freaking later. Love you, Hannah. Mommy.
No,
Where
it's
are they going downstairs?
probably don't let the cut.
It's already past 11.
So, the bleeding.
Wait, my turn. My turn. My turn.
Yeah, it's this one.
My turn. You wanna play speed?
Yes, put it that
Yeah,
one.
the one that cuts herself.
Strong.
It's strong, really?
One of them.
What?
Is he?
Imagine.
No, he probably is.
You don't think I can win,
Wait, who's
I'll win
in DC
strong.
right now? How many people? Sunshine's in Colorado.
She is like weed or something.
Charlotte. She's in Charlotte, Alabama. No,
New York.
that's
Wait,
not.
how's-
Who's in Ohio?
Real.
So I drop them.
Wisconsin.
No, no, no.
Go back.
Oh, that's the best.
This is the deck we used to flip over and
Very
all
targeted.
Oh.
Nobody's
Oh, they're in Idaho then.
real.
Okay,
Who's in
three.
Idaho?
Wait.
Nah, Idaho.
That's Colorado.
Oh. I know my states. Come on, turn me up, cuh. Run my feed, cuh.
Oh. That's inappropriate. All the Mexico people are in Mexico. That's not, wait, that's not Mexico.
Wait, I want to show you where I went in Mexico.
I hate Mexico people.
Give me that.
You don't hate Mexico.
And we go to the Baja.
Baja Blast.
Yeah, that. I was
You're
like,
so retarded.
I was in Baja, Mexico, like down there.
Yeah,
Like,
I
Villa
Most of the dirty Mexicans are right there
Why Mexico City?
because they're also much right there. Under the water.
I'm hanging out with Carly today.
Is she moving?
Yeah, not away from Chico.
Honestly, Brandon's
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, I got ethics too. Imagine.
real.
Do you have PSDs?
No.
Oh, imagine. Wait, let me snap somebody hot. Isn't that just some random match?
Or.
Shoulder, knees, and toes.
No, you put the jack down.
I'm
You
gonna
just can't
jump
put 10
off.
on the jack.
Wait, we can do it together.
Maybe Scarlett will.
I was thinking the same thing. That type of time. No.
8 or 10 or a queen or an ace.
$60 for the 3.
I got it.
No, I would put that card down first.
No, you didn't.
You can't just do that, cause look, I put this down first,
No.
then you put this down, then I put this down, and then I put.
I got red.
Oh, big,
This
big.
Nice, let's be praised.
Yeah, this can be good.
Hey.
Oh, there you go. Oh, she. Oh, does she?
Ew.
I won.
Are never
You're the closest
allowed.
What?
Come here, I wanna give one. Come here.
Manny McPhee. I could do that. His head just opened. I'm joking.
Not allowed in the kitchen, ever.
You're a cheater.
Alright, wanna play red?
He's retarded.
We can play crud. Does that wanna play crud?
Me getting snacks?
Do you know how to play crud?
No. But it doesn't involve me trying to eating. Doesn't involve me eating snacks.
Okay.
Oh,
You have to be on one of the short ends to hit it. So you can be here
I saw that.
or that end, but you can't hit it from the left. You have to hit it before it stops rolling, and you have to hit it on your turn. Okay, so like let's
Some
start with
kind of
this.
some kid
So
trying
I'll
to
go,
karate kick
then
him
you
at
go,
the end of
then
the
Micah
fight.
goes. So you're always after me. And just as soon as I hit, you have to get the white ball and hit the black ball before it stops rolling. Okay? And just make sure you're not on one of the long ends. And you can try as many times. Like if you do it and you miss, just run around and grab it and.
Oh, so
Oh, I
I
got
gotta
it.
like catch it like mid. So you like if it's going you have to like catch it.
Yeah. So
That would be me.
let's just pretend that I knew. That hit it. And then you have to run around, grab the white ball, and it went in there. But you would try and hit it before it stops rolling. If it goes in there, that actually automatically gives it.
Nope.
So you want to try and get one of the front pockets, or at least hit it before it stops rolling.
Hey, Moses is here. Earlier I saw a different Moses, and I said to Victoria, "Oh, Moses is here."
Yes.
She's like, "What? Where?" And then like it was a different Moses. She didn't see you. So she's like, "Where?"
And it stops, so it's
But then you're actually here.
so
it shakes out.
Oh, I didn't know you guys.
Welcome back.
C-R-U-T, and you're out. So you have to see.
No, wait, no.
Yeah, you did.
Woman, you just don't want to give me a snack.
Okay, fine. We're starting now. So.
You just don't want to give me.
I don't want to give you a snack.
You're done. I win, right?
Yeah, maybe. So I'm not. And now you. Oh, so that's a letter for you.
That was really funny. I'm gonna keep watching.
Yeah, get it. You can go around the sides. You just can't shoot from the sides.
Oh, that's
Does that count? No, those are just for you, so you get to shoot again.
I have rung a phone.
Congratulations.
It's not my phone though. It's
Why
my
would you even tell me that?
stepdad's
Why'd you bring it?
because I wanted to do that.
Oh, that's cheating.
No, it isn't.
Oh, yeah, okay, so that's a C for you.
The whole point is to get rid of your own distractions. It's not bring new distractions for you to get rid of.
And if you go.
Can I have one? Can I have the phone?
In Alaska.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Let's see which one's either dead
Yeah.
or not
Because
synced.
I'm used to a black one.
Yeah.
I'm really early this time.
No, you're 15 minutes late.
Wait, it's my turn.
Wait. Oh, early for me.
No, you tried to.
We're just waiting for
I just
people.
moved.
Yeah.
That's all. That's legal. You're allowed to move. Go ahead. You can still go.
I think we're only gonna get like one round.
That's
in.
an art.
What are we playing?
Smash Bros. Or Tricky Towers.
Yes. Smash Bros. The newest one?
Yeah.
Yay! I'm gonna play as Kirby.
Oh, this thing's broken.
You're the last one to hit, right?
Alright, I probably just threw away batteries that weren't dead.
That's my seat.
Is this a new camp?
A new camp?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Daniel. Oh wait, I do.
Yeah.
Ah, but it's been a while, so your
Yeah.
face has changed just slightly, and I was like, "Who are you?" I did that Friday night. One of my old middle schoolers came to high school, and I was just down there working in the office, and he came in the front door. He's like, "Hi, Daniel." I'm like, I apparently know you, and then like a few seconds later, it like sunk in. It was Charlie. Do you remember Charlie?
Oh.
He's been a middle school. You know Charlie. Yes. Charlie's changed enough that when I saw him for the first time in months, I didn't recognize him.
I needed a
No,
scratch in the
no, he does. See, but you've been seeing him off and on the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in months. It's been almost a year, and he's got like his hair up all high. There's like no hair on the sides anymore, and
That's
it's like
what I'm
all
saying.
curly.
He looks so much different.
He looks so different. Totally blew me away.
He looks the same.
He doesn't look the same. You're crazy, Moses. You're crazy. I love you, but you're crazy. Would you like to play Smash Bros?
I'm sorry.
We appreciate crazy here.
I finally found my Smash Bros. For my Switch. I'm so happy I found it.
Did you lose the cartridge?
I lost the chip, and I was super sad for like a year.
Well, yeah.
And then I found it, and now I just need to find my Legend of Zelda chip that I've been trying to find for
Alright,
like
that's
3
my
years.
R.
I've been so depressed
Oh, so you both have a U.
about that.
Why would I have no? No, I don't have a U. You have a U?
It's okay.
Oh no, this is great. Anyone want fourth? We've only got like one game time.
Oh. What does oh, we only have we only have 4 stocks.
Standard turn.
Wait, is it 5? Oh, perfect.
It's B is A.
What?
Because on the Switch,
Oh,
A is out
yeah.
here and B is in here. It's physical layout, not.
Oh no. I'm scared you're just gonna obliterate me. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh, so funny. Here, I never get anywhere with that. Oh.
That was me. Look.
Alright. just literally.
Got them.
No! I can't even brain slice his head. Ooh. So I need to change my name.
Oh, who had a Pokemon? I thought I did.
I don't want you to say that black hole. No. Ah, loser. What? No. Oh, God. Ooh, I didn't even see how I did that. Oh, I'm only at 2. Oh, God. You need to look up. Yeah, I'm just gonna my duel.
I found some. Yeah, lucky.
Got it.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Oh yeah, his changed, right? It's not the hot button one. Oh, I didn't even get Yoshi.
why did I just grab that? Oh, Yoshi's a...
Not more.
Yay!
Oh no.
Oh god, oh god. I do not want to touch my back. Every time. I think I was beating you and then slice and dice him. Yo, you guys want to see something fun? Oh, great. They're going after me.
You have enough percent. Oh, nuts.
Wait, why is he shooting you?
Just missed.
Oh my gosh, you're so good back here. Oh. Oh my god!
Just a down smash. It's nothing. Not that long. I don't even know this game.
Can I replace
I don't
someone?
think that's true.
That's true. I just played every other Smash Brothers up to this point.
Oh, yeah. You haven't been playing this game.
This
for a
game.
while. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever used this controller.
So A is B and B is A because it's the same orientation as on the Switch. Does that make sense? Where like B's on the inside.
Did you hear that they might make for the new Xbox they might
Oh, yeah.
change they might change that controller.
That'd be weird. That's like,
I'm excited that 360 controllers. Those
they're medium size. They're
Yeah.
not small enough.
sweaty.
They're not sweaty.
They're
There we go.
gosh.
0. Okay, player 3, it's your choice.
Okay.
There's a little hold on, you know. Push the sword.
Do I dare you to pick the worst map ever?
Why did you do?
What is the worst map?
I don't know. That's actually not. Basically, the lava ones are universally disliked. But some of the other game-shifting ones, like the WarioWare, are pretty bad too. There's like random things that can just kill you and has nothing to do with the other characters, you know? Oh, that's pretty bad too. The fish one. That one's pretty bad.
I've never done the Nintendo Dots one.
I don't think I've ever played them on Nintendo.
Final Fantasy. I tried to get Cloud in this game, and I
Minecraft
just
is it?
Have you played Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, the original or the new release?
The original. This, okay, just wanted to make sure since it's spoiled the entire end of the
I don't think most people would get it though. They're gonna see this, play the game, and be like, so
I'm
what?
probably never gonna understand
They
it.
probably won't. That's funny. I've never thought about the levels of spoilers. I've never considered.
It literally plays out the final
Yeah.
background.
That's great. It's such an ancient game that they haven't re-released it. I would kind of think that if you hadn't played it, you wouldn't.
Let me just get wait. Oh no.
Not that
Let
way.
me just get a few CPUs.
Why? Why would you do that?
Yes. No, just
We're not gonna do an 8-player game.
Yes,
Our
we
controllers
are.
are lagged as all get out. Like there's no who hit somewhere.
Should we let's all play random.
What? No.
Yeah, that would be funny. Because we could get like the
I have just like most of the characters.
we could get like the worst character, like a piranha.
Alright, you ready?
I'm only good as like 2 characters. Okay, so yeah.
I'm decent
So
with
legit.
playing
Player 4,
somehow.
you gotta
Hey,
actually hit A.
wait, where's Sora?
Player 4, you got the
That's
B.
the only DC player that is
What?
Why am I?
Double time. Oh, I have never.
the only place where I've ever done Oh, come on. Give him the shot back. If you're just a little bit up from that attack, you would never get me down. Ha. Why did I do that? Can we just... Oh. No! So... I'm feeling insulted right now. Oh wait, you could kill me. Yeah.
All right, everybody, grab a chair.
I'm already in my chair.
Put up your controllers on the shelf.
Just saying, Young Link looks so goofy when he's fighting.
It's time to get started.
I need to check everyone's stats.
Thanks, buddy.
This shelf right here. You'll see other controllers.
How do you connect the control, an Xbox controller to a Switch?
It's not a
One
Switch.
bag.
It's
No!
later on a PC.
I'll take one.
Xbox
go.
controller
No. I'm trying to.
is a special USB adapter. All right, ladies and gents, if you have your Bibles, open up to 1 Samuel chapter 22. If you don't have your Bibles, there's a lot of Bibles. Get one. They're on the shelf. Moses, get up. Don't be lazy. Don't steal Danny.
I have to get one anyway.
Oh, Danny got two? All right, that's cool. That's cool. I didn't see he had two. All right, guys, 1 Samuel chapter 22. I remember what we were talking about last week.
Wow. I'm in the jump.
Nobody? Nobody remembers last week? Okay.
Oh,
so,
I do.
1 Samuel
I know it's like.
is a book in the Old Testament. It is right after the first few, but it is almost halfway through in terms of the timeline. Chapter 22 occurs in 1011 BC. Samuel, the author, a prophet, would be about 89. Saul would be 71. Jonathan would be 56. This is the king and the king's son. And David, the soon-to-be king but not king yet, would be 29. So we're in 1 Samuel chapter 22. And you can tell if you can see this little blue arrow here, we're at the very, 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 very end of the timeline of 1 Samuel. Pretty soon we'll be jumping over to Samuel 2. But you'll notice there are not 0 chapters left. There are actual, lots of chapters left. And that's because pretty quickly here, the timeline compresses. So the whole book has been stretched out over this 100-year span. And now we're coming down to just the last little bit there. And suddenly all these chapters are happening back to back to back to back to back. Because it's now about to be action time. It is time when Saul is catching up with David. And Saul's going to make multiple attempts on David's life. David's going to narrowly escape a whole bunch. Everything kind of happens all at once now. All right, so chapter 22 of 1 Samuel. Let's get over to our map. Bye, Calvary Chapel Chico. Bye, bye, Chico.
Oh, I can still see it.
Bye, bye, bye. There's
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
and-
I
yeah,
can
the
still
Zoom-
see it.
Sorry, the Zoom kind of glitched there. It's a glitchy Zoom. Okay, bye, America.
I could still see it.
I can still see it. I can still
Yeah, I
see
can still see my
Calvary.
house.
Are you a
Okay, we're zooming in on the Middle East. And there we go. So what we've got here in the yellow is modern day Israel. This is if you look on the map today, the shape of Israel now. And the purple is Israel under Saul. So it's in the same place, but the borders were different. they had more of the land on this side back under Saul and less of the land on this side of the river. This line right here is a river. And we think that if you go back far enough, probably before even this story takes place, the river ran all the way down here. But at this point in history already it did not. This was still desert back in the part we're reading about. Even though this is 3,000 years ago, it's not far enough back to have the river go all the way through, we don't think. So anyways, this is what we're dealing with. So you have like the lay of the land. Let's go ahead and read through the first few verses. We're going to bring up Jerusalem. We're going to bring up Gath. Just wanted you to see where Gath was. It's outside of Israel's ancient borders. It is now part of modern-day Israel, but back then it would have been outside the borders. So chapter 22, verse 1 says, So David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. Soon his brothers and all his other relatives joined him there. Now, you remember why he was in Gath, even though it's outside Israel? No one remembers? Yes?
Oh,
He was hiding among his enemies, and he thought no one would find him there.
That is exactly right.
He was crazy.
Yes, and he pretended to be crazy. He was drooling. He was scratching at doors. And
singing.
all the while, he was secretly composing worship songs in his head. But the crazy act worked, and people didn't kill him. So, you know, that's a plus. Not dying. All right, so he takes his whole family, goes and chills at the cave of Adullam, which is back in Israel's borders, but only just. It's just over the border. So the capital's way over here, king's way over here. This is more central in the country.
wait, why do we need to look at a cave?
Because that's where he hides. Did you not hear the verse? Go ahead, read verse 1 again. Chapter 22, verse 1. He doesn't know why we need the verse or why we need the cave. Hey boys, welcome. Grab a Bible. We got extra chairs right here. You can sit on this side or that side. Take your pick. Just take a chair. You probably want two since you don't want to share chairs. That's weird. Don't do that.
No, it's not.
That's a little bit. For most of us. All
I
right.
like sharing with Aiden. I want Aiden.
No comment.
Go
no comment.
downstairs.
All right, so First Samuel chapter 22. Sorry, guys, you missed the whole intro and recap. I apologize. I'm not going to do the whole thing again. Basically, we're learning about David before he's king. He's already that guy who killed Goliath. He's not yet that guy who wears a crown. He's in the middle period of time between being the kid who kills Goliath and the man who becomes king. Now he's, how old did we say? 30? 20? 29? Is that right?
I thought he was like 48.
At this point, I think he's 29. Yeah, 29. Boom. David's 29. So he's past those teen years where he killed Goliath. He's not quite to those latter years where he's king. I don't think he gets to be king for a little while. But that's a much longer story we'll get to later. Okay, so 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 2. Then others began coming. Men who were in trouble or in debt, who were just discontented. They didn't like Saul. Until David was the captain of about 400 men. So originally, this is one guy hiding out in enemy territory, trying not to die. His whole family comes to stay with him, and then all these rando guys. Soldiers from the army that didn't like Saul, people who were in debt, just anyone who's an outcast from society, either by choice or not by choice. They all somehow find him. That's the part that blows my mind. They find him living in a cave on the edge of the country. I don't know how they find him. That part isn't really well described. But they do. Somehow they find him. So we'll move out a little bit because there's one more place we have to look at. And again, it's outside Israel's borders.
Dang, that's
So
far.
my guess is, since we don't know how they found him, but we know they found him, that means other people could find him. And we're going to see he moves. My guess is that's why he moves, is because of this. But also, people are looking in all kinds of places for him, and they're not looking in the right place yet, which is why he's still alive. Is that a raised hand or a stretch?
This is a raised hand.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Why is everything so flat?
What do you
It's
mean?
not flat.
Like, no, like the background.
Oh, the horizon?
Yeah.
Because it's very far away.
Oh.
Okay.
You thought we were looking down on everything?
Well, no, because like any mountain, if you zoom out far enough, looks small, right? So like it's already a pretty flat country. Like most of the bumps are actually part of a big plateau with like little grooves in it from rivulets carving out bits. You can tell from like the leftover striations in the soil that this was like all one level before the water got to it and started like cutting out channels and stuff. But that just means there are no giant mountains in this direction. So that looks flat because roughly it is. Like roughly. There's not that many features in this part of the country. Okay, verses 3 and 4. Later, David went to Mizpah in Moab. where he asked the king, please allow my father and mother to live here with you until I know what God is going to do for me. So David's parents stayed in Moab with the king during the entire time David was living in his stronghold. Now, the stronghold hasn't been mentioned yet. This is because the author is not writing this in real time. The author's not writing this like as it happens. They're writing it down from memory, and so they already know what's going to happen like on the next few pages. Does that make sense? So they know he's going to go chill at his stronghold, even though he doesn't have a stronghold yet.
Stronghold from Fortnite?
Yeah, just like that. It's exactly like that. Same floor plan and everything. Yeah. All right, so his parents get to check out from the army of people amassing around David, which is good because they're stinking old. They don't need to be going out living in a cave. They don't need to be running from Saul. They don't need to be in the battles that David's going to take part in. They don't need any of that stuff. So they get to just chill with the king of Moab, which is great. Moab is a land that at one point, if you go back a little ways in history, was at odds with Israel. They were mean to Israel. They didn't like Israel. But they weren't like in outright war the whole time. And if you go back a little further than that, they were actually family. The family lines between Moab and Israel actually connect if you go back far enough. So it's good that they're being nice. They should be nice. These are distant relatives. They haven't always been nice, and there will be times again in the near future where they will not be nice. But for now, they're being nice, which is great. Love to see it. Okay, keep going with me, verse 5. Jump to another part of the map here. This is up north. I took off the colors because I just didn't think it was quite as important here because there's so many things to read. You got to be able to read them. So we have the Cave of Adullam. We're going to mention this guy in a second. There's the capital. There's another place we're going to mention in a second. And there's another place we're going to mention in a second. Just so you can see where all these places are. This is outside the country. Don't forget that. Outside the country. I know, right? Weird. All right. Let's go verse 5, I think. We're going to see some verses here. Come on, Matt. Show us what's up. Yeah, we're going to talk about Nob. That's right. This is where the king is at currently. So this is verses 6 through 10. Anyone remembers stuff already happened at Nob earlier? You can go back 2 chapters if you want to see it. Verses 6 through 10 say this. The news of his arrival in Judah soon reached Saul. At the time, the king was sitting beneath the tamarisk tree on the hill at Gibeah, holding his spear and surrounded by his officers. Listen here, you men of Benjamin, Saul shouted to his officers when he heard the news. Has that son of Jesse promised every one of you fields and vineyards? Has he promised to make you all generals and captains in his army? Is that why you've conspired against me? For not one of you told me when my own son made a solemn pact with the son of Jesse. That's David, by the way. David's the son of Jesse. You're not even sorry for me. Think of it, my own son, encouraging him to kill me, as he is trying to do to this very day. He's a pretty sad and sorry individual at this moment. Then Doeg the Edomite, who was standing there with Saul's men, spoke up. When I was at Nob, he said, I saw the son of Jesse talking to the priest, Abimelech, son of Ahitub. Ahimelech consulted the Lord for him. Then he gave him food and the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Now this happened just last week, and it happened when David was alone. He didn't have any companions at this point in time. He goes, his companions have stayed behind, he talks to the priest. The priest doesn't actually know about the feud between David and Saul. This feud is a bit private at the start. Before that, David actually worked for the king in multiple capacities. He was one of the king's generals. He would go and play worship music for the king, help the king with the demons that were afflicting him. David and Saul were actually tight for quite a while. They were close. And David was extra close with Saul's son, Jonathan. He was part of the extended family by this point. He was so loved by the king, the king's people, the countrymen. Everyone loved David. So when he goes to the priest doesn't think, oh yes, I'll help David, even though the king hates him. He thinks, oh, there's David. Everyone loves David. Sure, I'll help David. The priest doesn't even know that there's beef between David and the king. He has no clue. So when the priest helps him out, he doesn't even think he needs permission. Right? Does that make sense? Like, he doesn't know that the king hates him. He doesn't know the king wants him dead. He's clueless to all that. So when you paint the picture that the priest is helping David, you have to include the detail of whether or not the priest knows that David's in trouble. Because if you don't know you're harboring a fugitive, you're not really, in your own mind, harboring a fugitive, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know they're a fugitive, it's not really your fault. Now, once you find out, then you could be blamed for what you do. But so far, the priest still doesn't know. He thinks he's on like some mission from the king. That's completely backwards. Okay, now we have this other person in the story, and he was barely there, but he was there in last week's story, just as a witness, just mentions his name and says like, yeah, he saw this happen. So, this guy, Doeg, the Edomite, he's not an Israelite. Does anyone remember what an Edomite is? This isn't like a tribe of Israel. This is something else. Does anyone know? Remembers? Okay. Does anyone remember the two brothers who were twins? One tended the flocks and one went out hunting. And the older one goes out hunting and he's supposed to get his dad's blessing. And the younger one sneaks in and steals the blessing by tricking old blind dad. Okay, these two brothers, Jacob and Esau, they both get their names changed. Jacob's gets changed to Israel. His family becomes the nation of Israel. Does that make sense? He has 12 sons. Those 12 sons eventually somehow turn into the 12 tribes as their kids grow and have more kids and have more kids and have more kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. So Jacob becomes Israel. His brother, who hated him for a real long time, although they eventually made up, eventually they became friends again. His brother's name was Esau, but his name got changed too.
Jacob.
No, that was the first brother. Second brother, Esau, gets his name changed to Edom.
Oh, wow.
Edom was their old word for red. So that one time when he bought the red stew from his brother and lost his birthright, that nickname sticks. And he is called that for the rest of his life. Red. And his nation that comes from him, because he has a bunch of sons, and those sons have a bunch of kids and grandkids, they become a nation that borders Israel, and their nation is called Edom. Red. Even though his name was Esau. But it kind of works, because Israel's original name was Jacob. They didn't get called Jacob. So, this is the two nations. Doeg is from this other bordering nation. But the problem is this. Ever since the two brothers made up and became friends again, the nations haven't been friends. They haven't been nice to each other. And there's going to come an event later on in time that is famous to this day where Edom totally betrays Israel in like a big, lots of people die sort of way. And so like that, it solidifies it. Like we're never going to be friends again after that. Moab has a similar event with Israel later on too. And so these neighboring countries, sometimes they're fighting, sometimes they're friends. But eventually they all burn their relationship with Israel. Edom's the same way. Doeg is living in Israel even though he's not from Israel. And as a foreigner, we're going to see he plays a very interesting position in this story. He is willing to do things for acceptance that other people are not. Think about this for a second. Have you guys ever been in a situation where someone in the group was new or not well accepted by everyone else?
Yeah.
Have you ever been there in that moment and you've seen that person do extra things, say extra things, act extra to try and get that approval, to try and get that acceptance? They're willing to do things they would normally say no to. They're willing to do things they would normally think like, I can't do that, that's wrong. But now to get the acceptance, they're willing to do it. Has anyone ever seen that? Has anyone ever done that? Yeah, okay. I had a really weird version of that when I was in middle school. I didn't actually know what people wanted me to do, and I didn't really know how to be accepted. So I went for like what I thought was second prize. I went for noticed. Does that make sense? Like I couldn't get accepted, but I could get noticed. Noticed is not really something that they're willingly doing, right? Like they don't choose to notice you. You can make them notice you.
You did a backflip off the
I
principal's
wish I could do a
office?
backflip, man. No, the closest I ever got was when I was a kid. We'd pretend to be Power Rangers, and we go backflip, backflip, backflip. And we just say backflip, do a little weird backbends. That's all we ever did. I had friends who could backflip. I thought they were cool. I couldn't. No, I would just do crazy things. I'd wear things on my neck that weren't jewelry, as if they were jewelry. I'd bring remote control cars places that no one else brings remote control cars.
Like where?
Like church.
Oh.
In a backpack. So like no one knows what's going on. Just all of a sudden in the middle of church. Yeah, I got in trouble for a few of those. I'd bring entire game consoles and all the controllers like before game consoles were portable. Back when like, you needed a screen, I'd like take a screen and like fit it in a backpack with all of the stuff and just like show up with all of the stuff and like want to play video games and like, oh no, we don't have any video games. But I do. And it didn't really get me any friends. It didn't really get me approval or acceptance in any of the groups, but it sure got me noticed. Like everyone noticed the weirdo kid. It was hard not to. And like that was enough. I was happy with that. I was happy with notice if I couldn't get acceptance. But I think most of us can be guilty of that. It just requires the right circumstances. And usually what saves us from that is not us just being so strong-willed and so self-dependent. No, usually what saves us from that is that we get at least like one friend. I don't know if you guys have ever been like the first one here. I'm not too hard to talk to, but some of you guys, when you're the first one here, you don't talk. Have you guys ever been the first one here and you're just like sitting there all quiet and then like a friend walks in and
Literally
suddenly
me
you
today.
blossom into a real person. It's like real human just add water. You just suddenly are alive again. I've
That
seen
one
it.
ate
I've
it.
seen it countless times. And you guys would be surprised. Some of the coolest people in youth group are awkward and quiet until another person arrives. And then suddenly their whole personality switches on. Okay? And you guys wouldn't see it unless you were that person. Because the second you walk in the room, they quit. But this is the case. And the problem is today, it's not going to be a small request. It's not going to be a little thing that the outsider is asked to do. It's not going to be something small. Hey, can you go get me a Bible? And like the youngest, least popular kid is like, okay, yeah, I'll get a Bible. Sure. No, today, the most unpopular person, the one on the outside, is going to be asked to do something awful, horrible, that no one should ever do. And he's going to do it. Because he wants the acceptance. He wants to be brought in. He is literally from another country, and everyone can tell. And he doesn't want to be treated like that anymore. He wants to be treated as part of the in crowd. So he's going to be willing to do something no one should ever even consider doing. Hey, Danny, can you stop making extra squeaky noises on purpose with your foot? Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, cool. Now we move on. Let's see what actually happens here. Doeg. Remember the character is Doeg. So verses 11 through 17. King Saul immediately sent for Ahimelech and all of his family. This is the priest guy who helped out David at that time. Remember, he didn't know David was in trouble, so he just like helped him. Who served as priests at Nob. When they arrived, Saul shouted at him, "Listen to me, you son of a high tub!" Saul's a very angry man at this point in his life. Most of his lines, if you think of them as lines, most of what he says is an angry yell. That's just who Saul is at this point in time. Wasn't always the case, but it is now. "What is it, my king?" Ahimelech asked. "Why have you and the son of Jesse conspired against me?" Saul demanded. "Why did you give him food and a sword? Why have you consulted God for him?" Now, so far, none of those things are crimes. "Why have you encouraged him to kill me as he is trying to do to this very day?" Now, I have to remind you guys, if you haven't been tracking with us, or maybe you're new, maybe you haven't been here in a few weeks, David has not once tried to kill Saul. David has not once declared that he has plans to kill Saul. David has been nothing but nice to Saul. Saul has tried to kill David several times. When Saul's own son just mentioned that he gave David some time off, Saul tried to kill his own son.
What?
Yeah.
What?
David was supposed to show at this fancy dinner, and David knows, the king's trying to kill me. So David's trying to find some excuse to get out of it, and he tells the king's son, Jonathan, "Hey, just tell the king, you let me go for vacation time, and I want to go spend some time with my family." And the son of the king's like, "Yeah, that's fine, I'll tell him that." So he goes to dinner with the king, and he tells the king, "Oh yeah, David couldn't make it, he's going to see his family," which was a lie, but that's not the point. The point is people do deserve to take time off. You shouldn't get mad about it. The king then starts screaming, swearing at his own son, stands up and lobs a spear at him. And it's only because Jonathan's a good soldier, he dodges the spear. It's insane. You should not lose your cool like that. That is a totally, unjust amount of freak out and anger from, yeah, your boy went on vacation. Not a normal reaction. But that's who Saul is right now. So when he screams at the priest, and you conspired with him, and you encouraged him to kill me, none of those things are true. Doeg did not testify to those things. Remember Doeg the witness? Doeg did not say anything about the priest telling David to kill the king. Doeg didn't hear any of that stuff. The king is just imagining the worst in anyone that he thinks might be against him. Not the worst like you said something behind my back and it hurt. No, like everyone's trying to kill me. They're all trying to kill me. My generals are trying to kill me.
Schizophrenic.
Yeah, paranoid. paranoid to the max. All right, verse 14. But sir, Ahimelech replied, is anyone among all your servants as faithful as David, your son-in-law? Oh yeah, did I mention David's the son-in-law? He married the king's daughter.
Plot twist.
Like, he's so close to this family, and he's been nothing but good to this family. Why? He's even the captain of your bodyguard and a highly honored member of your household. This was certainly not the first time I had consulted God for him. May the king not accuse me and my family in this matter, for I knew nothing at all of any plot against you. That's all true. All true. The priest can defend himself with the truth because he really did nothing wrong. Then, verse 16, we see how bent, twisted, and lost the king is. You will surely die, Ahimelech, along with your entire family, the king shouted. And he ordered his bodyguards, kill these priests of the Lord, for they are allies and conspirators with David. They knew he was running away from me. No, they didn't. But they didn't tell me. But Saul's men refused to kill the Lord's priests. That is good. That is really good. I hope that one day when you lose your temper, you have a friend next to you who's willing to put a hand right in front of you and say, stop.
Yes, tell me.
Stop.
Stop.
Tell me.
Get some help.
Stop. Get some help.
Stop.
Dude, if Michael Jordan was right in front of you to stop, you'd be even better.
Oh, that was a McDonald's commercial.
Okay, I'm aware of where the meme
What?
came from. Okay, I have been on the internet once or twice.
Well, you have?
Just like,
You
you
went
know.
global?
I think it was like 1998, but,
You
you
went
know.
global?
Michael Jordan existed back then.
Oh, he exists?
He was in the
He's not an AI generated
He's
individual.
dead.
okay.
He's one of the real ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He's
Wait.
not dead.
Yeah, he's not dead.
He's not dead.
He was in the NBA for like
Ever?
1,000 years. Or
It's
something.
close. You might be rounding up a little, but it was close. It was close. He was there a long time. All right, so lost my spot. Oh yeah, the bodyguards. So the bodyguards say no, and I love that. That even as they watch the king get worse and worse and worse, and they know it could be their life next. You follow? Like if someone says no to Saul at the wrong moment, he can just lob a spear at them. Ah, you're bad, and I hate you. Ah. And like you just say no to him, and you might be dead. Did you guys notice that when it said he was sitting under the tree, what else was there with him?
A spear.
A spear. No joke. He's just chilling under the tree, lounging, you know, hanging out with his soldiers with his spear in his hand. So the whole time this conversation's going on, he just has a spear. You're all trying to get me. At any moment. This is like hanging out with a crazy person who's holding a gun.
Oh.
How long do you stay hanging out with that crazy person? How many minutes go by before you find a legitimate excuse to just get the heck out of there? It shouldn't take long.
Gotta go.
Somehow the bodyguards are still there. Sometimes the soldiers, somehow the soldiers are still there. Doeg, this guy who has a whole other country to go live in, he's still there and he's trying to get favor with the king. He's trying to become one of the in crowd with this crazy person. But the bodyguards see reality. Now, whether or not they believe the charge, I don't actually know. It doesn't mention whether or not they think the priests are innocent. The real problem for the bodyguards is because they're Israelites. They know that the priests are God's chosen few. Only certain people got to become priests, and they're picked by God. Their whole family line chosen, set aside to be priests. So if God has a priest, and that priest messes up, that priest is a big giant sinner, and they just go against God and they blow him off, you know who's going to handle it? God. That's who's going to handle it. It's not going to be Joe Soldier. It's not going to be King's bodyguard. It's not even going to be the king. Not even the king. God's going to handle it. And we have the record. That's how the book of 1 Samuel opens. It opens with bad priests who are not doing their job. In fact, they're doing the opposite of their job. They're making things worse. And God raises up a baby to replace them named Samuel. And as Samuel gets old enough to actually take on the responsibilities of a priest, then he judges the priest. And he gave him fair warning, years of warning, turn or you'll be judged. And they never turn. So he judges them. He just kills them.
Uh-oh.
If these priests were legitimately going against God, going against his will, God would handle it. And the bodyguards know, if I step in the way, if I kill God's anointed priest, I'm going to be under God's judgment. And so I think that's kind of cool, because between crazy man Saul and God, they're more afraid of God. And that's as it should be. Crazy man Saul, oh yeah, more of a hair trigger. More of a you don't know what he's going to do. But I could dodge a spear a lot easier than I could dodge God. That's just logic. That's just science. You can dodge spears all day long. You can't dodge God.
I don't think I could dodge spears all day
What about dodgeballs?
Maybe like an hour and a half tops. Maybe if you ate your Wheaties that morning, I don't know. All right, so here's what happens. He tells the bodyguards, do it. Bodyguards are like, I ain't gonna do it. Verses 12 through 19 say this. Wait, that can't be right. We already read 11 through 17. Okay, so 18 through 19, that's a typo. Then the king said to Doeg, you do it. You can tell this is a very intelligent, put together leader when he tells people to do something evil and they say no, and he's like, okay, you do it.
Yes.
This is like bully 101. This isn't an intelligent leader. This isn't a king anymore. So Doeg the Edomite turned on them and killed them that day. 85 priests in all, still wearing their priestly garments. Now, why would that be special? Because priestly garments would get handed down, like father to son. If you aged out, you gave back your priestly garment. These were old relics, essentially. They were antiques. On top of that, it was the thing that denoted you as a priest, was your priestly garment. You could be born into the Levite clan and not get picked to be a priest, or not be from the right branch inside the Levite clan, and you would never get one of these. So this was like the badge of office. Their priestly garment was the thing that marked them as a priest. So to kill someone wearing their garment made it clear you knew what you were doing. You were killing God's priests. Verse 19, then he went to Nob, the town of the priests, and killed the priests' families, men and women, children and babies, and all the cattle, donkeys, sheep, and goats. You have to know when a person takes another person's life, they feel it. You have to know that. You have to understand that. But you also have to know that the human conscience is able to be seared. It is able to be broken. And the way that it's broken is by sinning. The first time you sin in a certain way, in a given way, you feel it really heavily, really big. It totally affects you. The second time you sin in that way, you feel it less. Next time you sin in that way, you feel it less. And you keep going down that road. You keep reenacting that sin. You keep engaging in that habit. You keep partaking in whatever God's forbidden. And you keep being affected by it less and less and less each time. On top of that, we know from modern accounts of soldiers who have been in life or death situations and they had to kill someone, we know that the first time affected them oh so much. We also know that the more insane the numbers get, the more trauma you incur, piled up to the degree where you lose sight of whether or not there even is a right or wrong. Whether or not there even is a question, should I or shouldn't I kill? You start killing enough times, it stops even being a question. You're not even asking, should I, shouldn't I? You just do it. So he starts out in one place with everyone watching, all the peer pressure, and he kills 85 people in a row. I don't know what that would do to someone.
Wait, in a row?
In a row. There's
Like
no guns. There's no bombs. This isn't killing someone 50 feet away.
He had his
Did he just
wagon.
like throw a spear and it went through all of them?
It doesn't mention what weapon he used, so I don't know. I don't want to pretend to know. I don't know. Could have been a bow for all I know. Maybe it was 50 feet away, but it doesn't say. Could have been a spear. Could have been a sword. Could have been bare hands. I don't know.
Ew.
I don't know. You can if you're a big, strong guy. Yeah, you can. 85 guys in a row. But when he's done with 85 guys, and
It's like a bottle cap.
you got to understand, like, the command from the king was them and all their families. So it's not like he just invented the part where I'm going to run to Nob and kill everyone who lives in Nob. That was really the full extent of the king's command. If he took the king seriously and he took him at his word, then that was the full command. Kill everyone standing here, all the priests, and then go to Nob and kill everyone related to them. Now, the king didn't give it all detailed like that, but Doeg's from around the area. We just saw him at Nob last time he was in the story, so he knows the area.
Knob.
He knows where the priest families live.
You could
So he
walk-
goes to Nob and he just clears out the town. Just kills them all one by one by one. I don't know what that would do to a person. Like, we can read stories about modern soldiers. Most of the time, their number in one day at one time, close up, is not 85. That is a high number. That is not a number that occurs frequently in real life. 85 is nuts. But then he just goes and wipes out a town. After. That's the only part that actually makes sense to me. Is after you got done killing 85 people, you would be so scarred mentally that you could get yourself to go wipe out a town after that.
Just go wipe out more people.
Because at that point, I mean, what's the difference, right? You're already losing count by the time you get to 85. What does it matter if the rest of the town goes down? Like, you're not processing how many it is. You're past that.
There's people who probably try to fight back though.
Oh, I'm sure. But all the men came out to meet the king. So, like, does that kind of make sense? There would be some older guys back there, because priesthood, you only serve from 30 to 50. So there'd be some under 30 guys back at town. There'd be some over 50 guys back at town. Just because that's how the time you spend as a priest worked. So Doeg does this horrible, ridiculous, awful thing. And then we see what happens after that. Like, what are the
What is this?
after effects?
Oh,
It's a lake.
Verse
Look
20.
how low.
Go ahead and just read the end of the chapter with me. Verse 20. Only Abiathar, one of the sons of Ahimelech, escaped and fled to David. When he told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord, David exclaimed, I knew it. When I saw Doeg the Edomite there that day, I knew he was sure to tell Saul. Now I have caused the death of all your father's family. Stay here with me and don't be afraid. I will protect you with my own life, for the same person wants to kill us both. In David's mind, this won't be an extra chore, because if David can keep himself alive and keep himself away from from Saul's notice, then kind of automatically all the guys that are with him will stay away from Saul and not get noticed. So, but he basically says, like, yeah, we're the outcasts. You are now too. Why don't you come live with us? And this ends up being a boon for David. Down the road, we see him making use of the fact that he has a real live priest who can talk to God and get straight answers from God in his group. He likes that. It's a bummer for this young man, because now his whole family's gone. Just completely gone. Brothers, sisters, mom, cousins, they're all gone. It's pretty sad. At his age, he probably would have had a wife and kids too. They're all dead. So David takes him in, and David takes in 400 other guys, not all of which have like good reasons to be taken in. It's not like all of them are like David and the priest. David and the priest, handed by the king for no good reason, right? That's a great reason to be on the run. It's a great reason to be running from the law. You're completely innocent, and you're not going to get caught and given a fair trial. You're going to get caught and killed. That's a great reason to run from the law, okay? But not everyone in his group is like that. Some of the people in his group just owe money. Do you guys know what they did to you back then when you owed money?
They'd kill you.
No.
They'd put you in a cell.
Isn't that an interesting one? Think about that for a second. Put you in jail until you could pay.
Yep.
How are you going to pay?
Yeah.
You're in jail. So that was the punishment if you weren't going to do what was required of you. But what was required of you if you just owed a bunch of money was to go willingly choose to be a slave to that person until you paid off your debt. And then if you refused, yeah, you get thrown in jail until you could pay. So the until you could pay is laughable. But if you had some family members that would pay for you, or someone else who wants to take on the debt is going to be nice to you and like make you work less, but you still owe them, you could make a deal with them where they pay the original guy you owed and now you owe them instead. So there's ways you could get out of it. But yeah, the jail thing was the punishment because you weren't willing to just pay, work hard and pay, or work for them as a slave and pay. But you had to pay. That was the thing. You never got out of the debt. You had to pay. The other reason they could throw you in jail until you could pay was because they actually had a law, which we're not sure if they ever practiced, although it was God's law, they were supposed to, which was called Jubilee. Does anyone here know Jubilee?
Nope.
Jubilee was a thing that happened every 50 years, and it was like a whole vacation year. You took like the whole dang year off. And if anyone owed any money, they didn't owe it anymore.
We need that.
Done.
me too.
Every 50 years. And this was interesting because it was on the clock, you were supposed to know it was coming. So if you took out a loan 3 years before Jubilee, there would be different terms to the loan than if you took out a loan like 49 years from Jubilee. Does that make sense? Because 49 years from Jubilee, they know you have lots of time to pay them back. 3 years from Jubilee, they know, like, you could just drag your feet and not pay me until Jubilee, and then I don't get any money. So you would make a different deal depending on how far it was from Jubilee. But
I'm
again,
not trying to kill you.
we don't have any evidence they ever actually followed through and did what God told them to do. We don't even know if they ever did the years of Jubilee. Yeah.
What if you got a loan on the year?
Yeah,
Or
during
like-
Jubilee.
Or like a month before?
Yeah, I don't know how that works actually. If like during Jubilee you're just not allowed to take out loans, or is it only on day 1 of Jubilee?
I would take as much money as I can.
Like the year before Jubilee.
Yeah.
Sam, you're not fooling anyone. Everyone knew what it was. Anyways, okay, so let's wrap this up.
Yay.
David doesn't really have a part in this story until the very, very end. Most of the story today, most of our chapter is all the bad guys. All the guys who are doing it wrong. And so I want to encourage you guys to lead by example. Leaders do not just lead with their words. Leaders need to lead by example. And Saul does, but sadly, Saul's a bad leader at this point in the story. He started out a much better leader. He was actually kind of halfway decent.
He's
at the
like
start.
Bowser.
He's like Bowser. Was Bowser good at the start?
No.
Oh, okay, then he's not like Bowser because Saul was good at the start. He was pretty darn
Maybe
good.
he was.
Saul started out as like a farmer boy. He was like so simple, so just down to earth, common sense, nice guy. And as time goes on, the power goes to his head. He just gets worse and worse and worse. He disobeys God. He thinks he knows better. The Spirit of God leaves him. Now there are demons always trying to mess with his head, and he just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as the years go by. Until the end, he's basically just pure evil. By the end, he wants to kill his own son.
Oh, wow.
Like, and his son didn't even do anything. So it just gets worse and worse and worse. So what I want to say is Saul could have said the nicest thing in the world, and it wouldn't have mattered. Because Saul was still leading with this horrible example of, you don't agree with me? That means you're evil and you want to kill me.
What?
Like, what?
No.
That's not how it works, man. I can disagree with you and still love you like my king. I can still disagree with you, I mean, at least in Jonathan's case, and love you like my dad, right? Like, David. What did David even disagree with him on? Whether or not he wants to kill him? Like, he has no other disagreement. He's willing to do anything the king asks him to do. The only disagreement is, like, David doesn't want to kill the king and the king thinks he does. That's it. So, Saul's example is a horrible example. He could say whatever he wants. It's not going to fix it. He's got to actually be the example. So I encourage you guys, in your friend groups, in your family, wherever you are, you can say whatever you want to say, but if it's not backed up by your actions, if it's not backed up by a real example that matches what you say, it's not going to count. It's not going to count. I don't know you guys well enough to say I could guess, but you can tell me. Have you guys ever been in a situation with your friends where your friends want to do something you know is wrong and you tell them no?
No.
You guys ever been in that situation?
Yes.
I have good friends.
That's good. That's a good answer. But no one's perfect, so eventually it may still come up. If you've not been in that situation, my next question is, why? Is it because you don't say anything when they do wrong stuff? No. Or is it because they don't do wrong stuff? Because those are very different answers, right? No. If I say that's never happened to you, and you're like, yeah, because I don't say anything. Like, that's not the same as because my friends don't do anything wrong. Those are very, very different things. But I would tell you, you might have got a certain response. Like if you said, no, let's not do that because that's bad. You might get a response like, who are you to judge? Or, you did that last week. Of course we can do that. If you're not acting the way you say you want people to act, they're going to call you on it. If you're not treating people the way you say you want to be treated, they're going to call you on it. If you're not living the way you say people should live, they're going to call you on it. Does that make sense? You've got to actually live up to your own example. So David, he doesn't have beef with anyone. He's not trying to be the king. He is legitimately living like it. He had 400 guys. If he really hated the king, wanted the king dead, wanted to take the throne, all that jazz, just take the 400 guys and go assassinate the king. Yep. Done deal. Right? Simple. Over, done. You could call it self-defense. At this point, the king's tried to kill him multiple times. Self-defense, just go kill the king. It's fair, right? The king started it. He threw the first javelin. I could just throw one back. That's just, that's fair.
Oh,
But he doesn't do it. Yeah.
Okay, so King. I feel like if you're gonna try to assassinate him in his sleep, I feel like he would just sleep with a spear. He would just like have his spear.
Yes, and in fact, we go a few chapters forward, we find that to be the case.
What?
Yeah. David finds him asleep, and he has his spear. Yeah, not even a joke. Not even a joke. Yeah. But don't,
It's
we'll,
like
we'll
his
get there.
teddy
It's a
bear.
great story. It's a great story.
What?
They find the king's whole camp with like all of his soldiers all asleep, and they walk through the whole camp, like tiptoeing around sleeping bags kind of deal, and like eventually walk right to the center where the king is.
Like the girl that
No
jumped
joke.
off the counter.
It's pretty fantastic. So we'll get there eventually. But at this point, I just want you guys to think about that lead bag example. Don't use your words only. You have to have the lifestyle to back it up. And if you don't have the lifestyle yet, start now. Changing your lifestyle to match the one Jesus has for you. Changing your lifestyle to match what Jesus wants for you. It will create the opportunity to say the right stuff. Because if you quit doing the wrong stuff you were doing before, and you start doing the right stuff Jesus has for you, people are going to ask questions. Your friends are going to wonder, like, why aren't you doing that anymore? Why are you doing this now? They're going to ask you. Then you get to tell them. Then when you do tell them, it's not going to be a mismatch between your words and your example. It's going to match. So start with the example. The words can come later. I watched a really interesting video of a girl who was raised in church today, and she had a backslidden Catholic mom. She had a Mormon dad. And she was brought to church like a bunch of times when she was really little. And she doesn't even remember now if it was like a Mormon church or a Catholic church or something in between. She doesn't even remember. She was so young. But the whole time she was there, the only thing she took away, the only thing she remembered as an adult was if they were having communion, it means it's almost over. That's it. That's all
not
she
wrong.
remembered. If we're having communion, it means it's almost over. So she grows up to be an adult. She does drugs. She has a wild lifestyle. She's just like, she does all her own stuff, whatever she wants.
Drugs. Ding.
But she like lives with her mom.
Huh?
Mom doesn't stop it. Mom doesn't tell her no. Goes to college on a sports scholarship. Wants to quit a few times. Her mom tells her to stay. Like, you know, there's some actual good mother-daughter relationship going on. Some. Not much. She starts to want to know about God, though, because she starts to be dissatisfied with what life is giving her. She's high almost all day, every day. She does class high, she plays sports high, and then when high isn't enough, she goes and gets drunk too, like on top of being high. And somehow this isn't making her happy.
Pills.
Somehow this isn't
I don't like
fulfilling
drugs.
for her. And she starts to wonder what will fulfill her. And what's so interesting to me, what's so sad to me is she's living with her mom, who admittedly is backslidden, but like she knows about God. She knows about Jesus. But her mom doesn't really have a relationship with Jesus. Doesn't talk to Jesus. One of the things she said in her story was so interesting to me, because her dad died when she was 16, so he didn't have a chance after that. But she said, even before I was 16, when I had both parents living in the home, my dad's working hard, my mom's trying to raise us, you know, they're good parents in like the traditional parenting sense. My dad spent so much time at work and so little time with us, and my mom was so focused on, you know, being at church. You just have to be at church. She says, I can't remember one time my parents said we should pray. I can't remember one time my parents said, let's read the Bible together. I can't remember one time when that happened. The only time anyone said anything about God was at church. When we went home, it was like my parents didn't know God. And as I grew older and all this stuff is not helping me, the drugs, the alcohol, none of it's helping me, none of it's making me feel good at the end of the day. I decided I wanted to know God. I wanted to at least know what it's like to know God. And I started longing to know Him. And so I started just praying and hoping He would hear me. And she's like, I didn't have a Bible. My mom didn't even have a Bible in the house. And I just started praying. And I started getting this feeling that like God would want me to do something different than how I was doing it. Hey, Patrick, you're done with that, man. That God would want me to do something different than how I'm doing it. And so I just thought, okay, we'll try that. And so she starts trying to quit things, and it's really hard. She can't quite quit. And she decides, I can't just be at home where everything's paid for, and it doesn't matter if I show up for stuff, everything's fine. I need to be out on my own, where if I mess up, it's on me, and it's gonna mess everything up. So she moves out, even though she's broke and she has a low-end job. She gets her own place. She quits smoking pot. She quits drinking. She quits all that lifestyle stuff she was doing, and just tries to stay clean. And she starts doing devotionals. And I think this is funny. She bought devotionals. She still didn't buy a Bible yet. She didn't have a Bible, but she's doing all these devotional books. So it has like Bible verses in it, you know, but like it's not the whole Bible. Starts doing these devotionals, and she falls asleep praying one night, and she has a vision in a dream where she's like sitting with Jesus, and she's sitting across from him at a table, and it's an interrogation room like you have in a police station. And she's like in the dream, she's totally scared at first, and then she realizes by looking at Jesus and seeing his face, like how he's thinking about her, that she shouldn't be scared. And she looks down at the table, and on the interrogation table is all these little crystals, and they each represent, and she looks into them, she can see like, this is all the trauma I've experienced, this is all the horrible sins I've committed, this is all the times someone did something wrong to me, this is the best I've ever been, this is like, and it's basically just her past, laid out in categories. And Jesus goes down the line and just pushes his hand straight through every crystal and just smashes them to dust. And just says goodbye to your past. And she wakes up in like a cold sweat. She's like freaking out. What the heck does that mean? Goes to the bathroom, washes her face. She's like, what in the world? And when she's in the bathroom still awake, she closes her eyes and the dream starts up immediately. And there he is across from the table, smiling at her. And he just reaches his hand out and just waits. And she's like, what do I do? And he says, just accept the life I have for you. And so she takes his hand. And at this point, she's still never walked into a church, and she doesn't own a Bible. And so she doesn't really know who Jesus is, other than what is happening in her own head right now in this little vision dream. That is the most she knows about Jesus. It's not concrete. It's not clear. She doesn't get it. But just that one little picture, Jesus would like to accept me, and he wants me to live a life he's got planned. Not the one of my past. He says, no, crush your past. Throw it away. Get rid of that. You're past that. Take the new life. Fast forward like 2 years, she's plugged in at a church. She is reading her Bible. She's already backslidden once in those 2 years. She went back to pot, back to alcohol, back to the lifestyle. And it was so hollow, so empty, so unhappy, she ran from it. And she didn't know if Jesus would take her back. She didn't know if since he'd forgiven her once, like that would be it, no further forgiveness. She kind of thought like once I messed up again, that was it, he'd be done with me. She was totally ashamed. And that's when she finally connected with the church and she realized, you don't get clean so that you can get in the shower. Jesus says he wants to clean you up. He wants to give you a brand new life. He is the only way to become clean. You don't have to get clean before you go to him. You don't have to fix your problems before you go to him. I love that. But this is what I thought was interesting. She started with the example. She quit all this stuff because she knew Jesus wanted her to. And as she did that, people were coming back around. People she used to get high with, people who she used to drink with. And she just had to tell them point blank, nice as she could, I can't hang with you anymore. And they're like, why? She just told them straight up, I know that Jesus is calling me to something else than what I will have if I continue to spend time with you. I'm not going to have what Jesus wants for me if I'm here with you. Because I know what's going to happen if I'm here with you. We're going to get high, we're going to get drunk. Like, that's what's going to happen. So I'm sorry, I can't be here anymore. And so she started with the example, and then her words got to follow. And now that she has that example of, I gave my whole life to Jesus, I quit all that old junk, I'm living for him. Now when she says Jesus can clean you, when she says Jesus can get rid of your old junk, when she says Jesus has a whole new life for you, anyone can question it, and she can show them the example. Does that make sense? But imagine if she didn't. Imagine if she just shows up at church, high as a kite, says, yeah, I want to be a Christian.
Wow.
And she goes into the service and she sings and she prays. And she goes right back out of the church and lives her life the exact same way she was living before. And then she tells people, Jesus is great. He's the way. He can give you a new life. And they're like, really? What would she be able to show them? What would she be able to tell them that isn't just kind of hollow and made up? You know what I mean? Like, just, it's fluffy. It's soft sounding. Jesus accepts you. He loves you. He'll take you as you are. But if there's no change that comes after that, then like, what is it? Is that a new life? It's not really anything. It's just the same old life, but you feel better. So I encourage you guys, you got to have the example. And then it will start affecting your friend groups. It will start affecting your family because people notice when you live different. They can't not. All right, let's pray. Lord, we thank you that you've led by example. You didn't just say you loved us. You didn't just claim you can give us a second life, a new life. You came here and you gave up your life as the testament to your love for us. You laid down your life and then you gave yourself a second life, a new life. You gave yourself something brand new as the example for us. Hey guys, when we're praying, just talk to God, not to each other, okay? We thank you, Lord, for that example. We thank you that you were willing to lay down your own life for us. And so we're asking, Jesus, that you would create in us that passionate fire, that desire to do something for you that causes us to live a life of example. Reinforce it, Lord, by your Spirit. Help us to see what amazing works you've laid out in front of us, what opportunities you have for us, so that we can have that life of example. And Lord, help us in our group of friends, in our family, at school, wherever we end up, Lord, that you would just help us to be a leader in those situations. So as people witness what you're doing in our lives, they're forced to just ask questions, to see what is going on. Help us, Lord, to dig in with you this week, to be praying, to be reading your word, to be going through the Gospels constantly just so we can get to know you, so we can see your character, see how you treat people, see how you love people. Lord, help us to know you so completely that we're not confused or vexed when we get into some strange situation, Lord, but we know how you would act in that situation. And we know how you would want us to act. Lord, I lift up these middle schoolers to you, that they would see the example of people around them and they would follow those that are good. And then they would question and they would doubt those that are bad. That they would stay away from those that are going to lead them away from you. Help them to be discerning, Lord. I pray that. With our heads bowed, with our eyes closed, if there's anyone here this morning that wants to start that relationship that I was talking about, a closeness with Jesus where you can talk to him, you can get to know him. If you want that this morning, if you want his forgiveness, you want that brand new life, the Bible says he died in your place. He took the punishment you deserved so that you could have that new life. So if that's you today and you want that, just raise up your hand, show me that's you, and I'll pray with you. I'll help you out with the words. You can have that brand new life. You can have that forgiveness. You can have eternal life. Anyone this morning? All right, Lord, I pray for these kids today, and I ask that you would go with them this week. Draw them close to you. In your name, Jesus. Amen. Right on. Thank you, guys. Please put your Bibles back on the shelf and your chairs back on the stack before you go. I'm going to throw up a camp video real quick because there are still some spots left for summer camp if you have not signed up. And if you are one of our new graduates, like you just came up from 5th grade or 6th grade, you can get a discount on camp. Talk to me and I'll tell you the discount code. You can go sign up online and you get money off.
Sign up for camp.
I didn't get a discount.
Yeah.
No problem. I already know something like that because it's not fair. It is very expensive.
It is very expensive.
Like a white. One that I don't like, and another one I don't like.
prayers of our God and King. Lift up your voice and with us sing. Oh, praise Him, hallelujah. Thou burning sun with golden beam, thou silver moon with softer gleam. Oh, praise Him, oh, praise Him. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thou rushing wind that art so strong, ye clouds that sail in heaven along. Oh, praise Him, hallelujah. Thou rising moon in praise rejoice. Ye lights of evening find a voice. Oh, praise Him, oh, praise Him. Hallelujah, hallelujah, let all things their Creator bless, and worship Him in humbleness. Oh, praise Him, hallelujah. Praise, praise the Father, praise the Son, and praise the Spirit, three in one. Oh, praise Him, oh, praise Him. Hallelujah, hallelujah, I hear the Savior say, thy strength indeed is small. Child of weakness, watch and pray, finding Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. And when before the throne I stand in incomplete, Jesus died my soul to save, my lips shall still repeat, Jesus paid it all to